Hello, recorders. I'm reporting to you live from PowerHouse Comic-Con, their 5th anniversary, and it's
It's recording time!
Jessie, that's my catchphrase. Like, how would you feel if I said yours?
I mean, go for it.
Keep your knees high, Twinkle Toes.
Be a little louder. Is this fine? Okay. Hi. Thank you guys for having. What an intro. My goodness.
I know, right?
Thank you.
We try to write them in a way that are like, oh my God, they're talking about me?
Yeah, that's exciting.
You're like, wow, I am pretty cool, aren't
I
I?
was like, wow, that's a good list of things.
I did those?
Honestly, it feels like ages, so it's a good reminder.
There you go. See, and that's the thing. We remind you of your career, and then you're like, man, I did do all that stuff. I am that cool.
Well, it's nice. They said I was going to be in the sun, and I was like prepared to be completely roasted. But I think we get a second of shade here.
We shifted. We did a shift.
We moved the table back specifically so we're not dying.
Good.
We earthbended the building.
Yes. About that.
You know, it's funny actually. I went to so I'm relatively new-ish to conventions. I really started last June. That was kind of like the beginning. I did a couple before that, and one was in 2019 Anime Expo, and that was the first day
anime,
of that.
Right?
No, Anime Expo in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, it was downtown. There was a big earthquake on the first day.
Oh, no way.
And so it's funny because I was just like, oh, I landed. Of course there was there was a big earthquake on the first day because I'm back in town. Yeah, it was funny. So
Earthbending, like you're not even trying to.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Thank
and there's
you.
two
Absolutely.
of you. I'm used to kind of freebirding it, and I'm by myself a lot. So I was like ready to just talk about whatever, but I have two people.
Yeah, and we have questions for
We
you.
got a ton of questions.
I
We're gonna
have
have
answers,
audience questions, so
probably.
get all your questions ready. We'll have a little spot a little bit later, but let's learn about Jessie.
Yeah, let's
Is that
get
cool?
into this.
Let's learn about it. Okay.
Yeah,
to
now
ask
before
me
we get
things.
into your voice story,
Yeah.
right, let's learn a little bit more about you.
Okay.
Okay. What is something that people are nerding out on or obsessed about that you just don't get the point of?
Ooh, see, that's hard because a lot of what I've been very fortunate enough to work on is really good.
And it could be anything. Like for me, I don't get TikTok. I think I'm getting too old. I'm getting too old, everybody. I'm sorry.
We're not in our 40s.
Actually, you know what? I will say this. I think that Discord is frustrating. I think it is disorganized and hard to
you.
navigate. So when people are like, oh, like on the Discord server, I'm like, why are you using that platform? I feel like there are better options, but maybe not. I don't know. So you said TikTok, and that actually just reminded me, of that. So Discord, because so many people use Discord for things, and I've done some events and some volunteer speaking, and like college groups have like these Discord groups, and it's messy in my opinion.
Yeah,
So,
no, I agree. I just started figuring out Discord recently. Not saying that I learned about it, but like figuring it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a pain in the butt, but I understand it now.
Yeah, I get it, and it is helpful. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have. There's so much water. I have like 3 bottles under my table, and my own bottle, and
You're
this
saying
one.
that to a bunch of people sitting out in the sun.
If anyone wants it, here. No, I'm just kidding.
She'll sign it.
Yeah.
Do you guys want a signed water bottle? Look at that.
There you go.
She's not a waterbender.
I'll do it. Come get a
Just
signed water
don't drink it though.
She's not a waterbender, so I don't know if it means anything on that.
No. The number of times that would be helpful when I have to go to the restroom at my table, though, that would be very helpful.
Just
just send it off to the bathroom.
just purge it there.
Okay, one more question about you.
Me, yes,
Yeah.
as like a person.
We have a segment on our podcast called Growing Up Geeky.
Okay.
What is something that you used to geek out on when you were a kid?
I think the first thing I geeked out on was the musical Cats on VHS with the original West End cast.
Nice.
I was about 6 years old when I watched that for the first time, and it was over after that. I watched it like 3 times a day for like 2 years in a row. I was very obsessed with it. So I don't know why. But I was obsessed with it. So I wanted to be the white cat, but I knew that it was more realistic for me to be Rumple Teaser. There's like a duo of cats that are like a brother and sister, and they're more tumbly, and they do like cartwheels and stuff. And I was like, realistically, I'd probably be the sister in the duo, if I were to be cast in Cats. But anyway, yeah, that was
that led
my
you
first.
to become a theater kid.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Did you get into the weird bodysuit movie at all, or
The weird bodysuit what?
the weird bodysuit movie at all, or like the new one?
Oh. Yeah, no, I watched it just to have a reference point, but I knew that was not going to be.
I don't think we're supposed to talk about that
It was
movie.
not.
We're not supposed to talk about
It's like the other
movie.
live action that we don't talk about. It's like we just don't talk about them because they're not good. But yeah, I didn't like that one.
Yeah.
Okay, career time. How did you get into voice acting?
Well, okay, you did mention theater. So I started in musical theater because my mom was like, hey, let's put you in a musical before we go get headshots and all this crazy stuff. So I started acting in, oh goodness, okay, so I was 5, 1999. So 1999 in Los Angeles was a very different world, let's just say that first off. And then you could walk into agencies and hand them your headshots and like actually talk to people pretty quickly if you were persistent. So my mom was like, before we do that, let's like put you in a musical and make sure that you're really into this whole performing thing. So I was in Oliver. I was the happiest little orphan in Oliver ever. I was so happy to be there. I loved it. And then my mom's like, all right, you want to do this. So we got some headshots made. I started in commercials. And then I went through an awkward growing phase. And my agent, who is still the same voiceover agent that I have now, she kind of stuck with me through the years as I've come in and out of voice acting. And she's like, hey, we have this new youth department called voiceover. You're not on camera. You should try it. I had really short hair because I wanted to be edgy, and like 4 of my teeth had fallen out, so I wasn't like commercially viable at that moment.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I started in the booth, and I was much more comfortable in the booth because there weren't 3 people sitting behind a table staring at me, judging everything that I did. They were just in another room doing that instead, and apparently that was much easier for me to handle. So I kind of fit in that world pretty well. I also was a very good reader. When you're a kid and in voiceover, if they hand you a new script, they need you to be able to read it. So that was going for me. Yeah, so it just kind of clicked, and that's how I started on voiceover. My first job ever was actually additional voices in Finding Nemo. So all the little baby turtles and baby fish, there were like 7 of us, and we were just running around in the recording booth going like, yeah, let's go swimming. Hey, what's over there? Oh my gosh, ew, seaweed, like whatever. Just like all of that filler. And so, yeah, I started doing mainly additional voices. That's kind of where I started before kind of the name Meet the Robinsons, Avatar stuff. That happened more around 11, 12.
Right, because Meet the Robinsons, you played the young version of the mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young Franny.
Young
I
Franny,
love her.
that's what it was, right.
The little crazy frog girl. You
Right.
think I'm crazy too, don't you? Yeah, she's great.
I love how you can just turn that on. Like,
Well, I had to find it again, because at the time, I mean, I was a little bit character-y, but I was 10, 11, right? So I was mainly just taking my voice then of, like, being 10 and just making her, like, extra crazy or something. And so I had to kind of go back and, like, find those parts of my voice. But I've always stayed squeaky, just because it's, I don't know, it's easy and it's fun for me, and just like everything else, if you stop doing it, you lose it. So sometimes I'll just walk around and be like, oh, look, let's have some cereal, yay! Just to, like, keep it... in my voice, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I've been conscious of like kind of, I don't know, keeping the voice around and like finding Toph again and all that stuff, because I'm 27 now. Haha, that's crazy. But yeah, I had to kind of go back and find her, and people are like, wow, you can still do the voice. And I'm like, I hope so. That would be very unfortunate if I still couldn't do the voice.
It's like, oh yeah, I was Toph Beifong. I can't do the voice
Yeah,
anymore.
I was
Sorry.
Toph, but nope, yep, it's gone. Can't sound anything like her ever again. That would be unfortunate.
What is it like working for like different studios?
It's pretty crazy. Actually, being a kid in certain environments, you aren't as aware of how cool something is or how fortunate you are in the moment. So like working in a huge Disney recording studio, it's a massive room with a huge screen on the wall, and they've got like a microphone that's probably like $20,000 hanging in front of your face.
And you're like 11 and like,
Right,
oh
and I'm
yeah,
like-
I don't care about that.
Right, I was like, this is normal. This is just like what recording is. And then you are stuck in quarantine in your closet between dresses, like holding your $200 microphone, being like, yeah, I'm doing this. And then you're like, wow, that's really nice. So yeah, it's definitely very, very cool seeing, how nice some of these studios can get, and just even for just the smallest decibel of like improvement, because technically D. Bradley Baker, who voices every creature
Everything.
and character under the sun,
Right.
He voiced Appa and Momo, all the creatures in Avatar, among many other creatures in
Every clone that you've ever heard.
all of it. But he has an at-home studio because it just got too much for him
Right.
to go in, right? So now he has his own at home, and so technically that is good enough quality for like Disney level, but there is still just this like little ounce of cushion that's like nice. You can like feel it. It's tangible in the room when you get into that like
Right.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Part of it's the
space.
acoustics and everything
Exactly,
like that,
yeah.
right?
So it's very cool. And it's interesting. I think a lot of people hear this when it comes to like, I don't know. I feel like I've heard it a lot when it's coming to like rock stars or musicians. It's like the bigger they are, they sometimes are the most humble. And I feel like it's that way working with crew members sometimes too. Like they've worked on so much stuff and they have so much experience, but they're so nice and they're so patient. Just like Andrea, the director for me in Avatar, she has worked with so many people, and
She's a
she
legend.
was the most like poised, calm, and if like, I was a kid, I was 12, so like there would be some lines where I wasn't quite getting it, but she always knew how to like adjust her question to try to phrase it so I would understand her note. There was never like, oh gosh, I'm like working with these kids, like it never felt like that, which I just think is amazing. Because
She just retired recently, so like
Yes, she did.
I don't know if there's ever going to be a director as good as her. 'Cause,
I love her.
Well, she did Batman.
I know,
did,
she
like,
did
Like
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
Tiny Toons, like everything. If you grew up in the '90s, every cartoon that was good, she directed.
Yeah, and so I feel like it's just cool to have been around so many different environments, because then there's an MTV commercial that I record at some small sound studio in Burbank, right? And then
Right.
it's just like one dude in a tiny little kind of closet. So like there's been such a range that I'm very grateful for, because all of them have been great, but it gives me an idea of just like, wow, this is really nice. This is super, super high tier. But also this works over here in the corner with your $300 setup. That also
Right.
works. Like, it
Or
all
on the
works.
sun. That also works.
Yeah, or out in the sun. Yeah,
Recording on the sun. It's all good.
Well, given that you were already kind of like recording at home, did the pandemic change anything for you work-wise?
Well, I wasn't. I only started because of COVID, and actually, I wasn't really. I was kind of recording in my closet using my phone occasionally, but I wasn't fully back into voiceover yet. I was in New York after I graduated from college. I thought I wanted to be a surgeon. Ha 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 ha. So many things have changed. But I was in. Oh, I thought we were going to lose it for a second. I was in Manhattan to do musical theater, and I was trying. I was singing with a cover band and auditioning like a crazy person and taking dance classes. Blah 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 blah. So I was doing voiceover a little, but not that much. And COVID kind of was like, well, gonna be at home, might as well kind of return to this a little bit. And then I decided to move to LA at the beginning of last year and tell my agent, I was like, hey, I'm back. If you have room for me, like if there's anything, I would love to kind of start up again, because I hadn't really worked for her in 8 years, 7 years or something like that. Yeah, so I didn't start recording really from home until COVID, because I wasn't really doing voiceover as much until COVID again. Yeah. So it's
So what did
crazy.
you pick up while the pandemic was happening?
Mm-hmm.
What like roles did you pick up?
At least ones you can talk about.
Yeah. So I did, a couple of little TV commercials. I did like a Bring It On Tuesday marathon, like, one of those. And then I've done a couple, I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Spill the tea,
say
spill the
this
tea,
thing,
spill the
this
tea,
thing.
spill the
I've
tea,
done
spill the
some
tea.
NPCs in a very popular video game where Paimon is a character. And that was fun. And then actually this last week is literally 2 days ago, I recorded the first session of a returning character of a cute little horned chick from a game many years ago, if that's very, very layered context. And if you figured it out, good for you. And if not, then too bad. You'll find out soon.
That does not break any NDAs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
but there's still recording sessions left, so I'm being extra careful with that one. But
Right.
video game, yay.
Awesome.
Very excited.
Congrats.
And then Platinum End, which is from the creators of Death Note. I've been told it's an okay anime, and I think I agree with that. But Nase is the head angel kind of in that anime, and I dubbed her
That's
for her
awesome.
English voice. So yeah, I've just been kind of poking back into everything. It's
Back
exciting.
into the anime world.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I don't think I'd ever done a true anime until Platinum End.
Right,
I'd
because
done.
she did original voiceover for Avatar.
Yeah. It was all kind of Disney Nick animation, I guess, as opposed to anime. So that was my first anime. Yeah.
So now that you've done 2 additional types of voiceover, like how does that compare? Like, so I know you've done traditional animation, and then now you've done anime and gaming voiceover,
Yeah.
which is a complete different monster.
Yeah.
How would you fare your experiences with that?
Well, animation and being the original voice of something is always going to be unparalleled because you are creating the character, and they oftentimes are animating based off of your action, based off of your voice. It's on my bucket list to somehow be a Disney princess or just a Disney character, whatever, somewhere. I can be the mean best friend. I don't care. I just want to be the original Disney something. Just because I think that would be cool.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But you know, it's kind of fun because you are a collaborator in the process. When it comes to anime and gaming, you're usually kind of stepping into something that has already been constructed, which is fun. That's also fun. But it's not as creative necessarily for making the character. You know, with anime, you usually have to match the tone, you have to match the mouth flaps, you have to try to squeeze things in. There are definitely some lines where I was like, not the most acting happening there, but we got it in on time, so I guess that's all that matters. So yeah, you know, there's stuff like that. There's definitely a lot more thinking. I forgot how hard it was to dub, because I did a lot of dubbing for like films that were maybe done in French and they needed English, whatever. I'd done some of that earlier on.
Wow.
But when I went in to do this anime, I forgot, and it's like you have to do the line, you're watching the mouth flaps, and you're doing the timing, and you're trying to do the tone of voice, and you're acting. And I was like, wow, yeah, okay, woo, hello, rain check, we're... Hold on. let me get everything back, and then come back, yeah. So it was cool, though, because I think that had been my first time back in a studio for a recurring role since Avatar, and that was last October. And that was the first time. So it had been like 15 years since I'd done like a recurring animated role, which is
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Crazy. Yeah.
No, real quick, is that an industry term, mouth flaps?
Oh.
Because I'm going to use that all
It
the
is
time
actually.
now
That is.
when I talk about anime.
Yeah. And they also say to refer to the J, refer to the Japanese. So it's like, oh, let's look at the J, let's listen to the J. And then, you know, count the J as mouth flaps. Yeah, you're whatever.
Because a lot of times, and that's why a lot of people don't like English dubs, is because sometimes they have to rewrite the lines to fit the mouth
I
flaps.
get it.
They usually should, and oftentimes they don't. And they're like, oh, we're matching the subtitles. I'm like, that's not a good idea. We should write it to make sense, not to match the subtitles.
Right.
There are some things where I'm like, that's not quite, whatever. I'm not in charge of this. That's fine. I'm just going to say my line.
Now, of all the work that you've done, what has been your fondest experience so far?
I mean, I'm a little biased. I think, obviously, Avatar has the most attention around it right now, but it's also the most cast-heavy / cast-close, I guess.
Yeah.
We're not, you know, at the time, I was 12, so was Zach, who voiced Aang. We were both 12, and everybody else was over 18. And we didn't have social media yet. I believe it was the dawn of Facebook is when we were recording this.
2000, 2001?
2006 to
2006.
2008,
Okay.
yeah. And so we
I was
weren't...
still on MySpace. I don't know
Yeah,
what
there
you're
you go.
talking
Well,
about.
no, yes. MySpace was still main, but I think 2008 is when Facebook kind of was
I think you're
like,
right.
oh, this is the new thing. But we weren't friends. Like, we were friendly, but we weren't, like, hanging out after getting lunch and everything because
You were
we were
12.
younger, yeah. So May, Dante, and Jack, who voice Katara, Sokka, and Zuko, they would all go out to, like, bars and hang out and whatever. And I would just go home and study for my math test. So I am happy because now I got to like become friends with everybody for real, actually, and like travel with them and talk about adult things
Yeah.
and like dating and go to bars with them and just like be
Now you can be peers and
be
friends.
over 21, with my castmates. So
That's awesome.
that's been nice because sometimes you get that, sometimes you don't. But this cast in particular is decently close. A lot of times you work on a project and you never really talk to people again until the next thing. And that's very common. It's not a bad thing. It's not a mean thing. It's just how it goes. Everybody's busy. So it's been nice that I've gotten to, chat with Jenny and Olivia, and hang out with Dante when he was in New York. And I get to hang out with Jack a lot, and he had a baby, and so I get to talk to him about his baby. And then Greg Baldwin, who voices Uncle Iroh Part 2, he and I have gotten super close. He's like, "You're my con daughter," and he's like invited me to his house in Albuquerque, and I like met his wife and his dog. It's just like, it's cool, you know?
That's awesome.
I feel like I became friends with everybody, and no other experience has done that. So, yeah.
I bet it started out as like, it was just a job.
For everybody. Yeah.
But
they're like,
all
"Oh,
of a
this is
sudden,
fun. This is cool. Okay,
they
great.
s-
Bye. Have
they-
a good one, guys."
They see how it affects everybody and how everybody, it's so much like a part of people's childhood or just growing. Kind of like how Star Wars was for me.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden it means something to other people, so it probably means more to you guys now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, looking back, so that's awesome.
When you're working on something, if you're too aware or trying too much to like affect change with it, it usually doesn't happen that way.
Right.
It's usually when you're just kind of being organic and present and like trying to make something good, and then you're like, "All right," and let it go, and then people like kind of latch onto it, and you're like, "Oh, hey, people like that. That's
Yeah.
cool."
Totally.
Yeah, that's very much the sentiment of pretty much everybody in the cast.
Can we talk about Toph now?
That's kind of where I was going for
Okay,
next. So
let's
let's get
do
into
it.
some more, some Toph stuff here, right? So tell us about the experience in creating Toph's voice and her mannerisms and everything. Yeah, it's not going to kill us.
I mean, I'm not expecting death, but I will prepare myself.
We're just going to need you to earthbend it back.
Well, there's not. Is it made of dirt?
There's
Oh,
rock underneath.
is this plastic or metal?
There's rock underneath.
Oh, okay,
So you
great.
need- yeah.
Yeah, what do we do with plastic PVC material? I don't know. Is she a
That
plastic
I'm not
bender?
sure. Yeah.
We need a
Metal we
plastic
know,
bender.
but yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. it's a new
That's a sequel.
sub bending. So preparing for Toph was very easy because she is already sassy and opinionated, and I was already that. So all I had to do was kind of sit in my more, my tomboy register side of things. I very much liked running around barefoot. I liked climbing trees. All of that was already on par for who I was kind of voicing.
That's your version of like method acting.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
you lived it.
Were you already skulky and sarcastic?
No. I mean, sarcastic, yes. Skulky, not so much. So I was more like chipper. I was more like young Franny, Meet the Robinsons, kind of
Right.
the Chaka from Kronk's New Groove and Emperor's New School, that sort of thing. Like kind of the peppy, like super sassy, like this type of girl. But Toph is more like, she's like a little more sassy and skulky like this. And she has feelings, and she just, nobody understands me, even though I'm rich. So, like, it was more of that. She and Zuko, I feel like, have lots of similar things. They, like, have so much privilege, but, like, are so different from where they came from. And so, yeah, it was more just sitting into that kind of skulky or tomboy side, digging into my heels, one could say. So, yeah, I just kind of lived in that side of my voice, and then, I don't know, I just reacted. Like, this is when people are like, "Oh, what should I do to become a voice actor?" I'm like, I don't know, take some acting lessons. Just learn how to react in the moment. If somebody like insulted you, would you be okay with that? Probably not. So you'd probably fire back and be annoyed. So, it's just very, very organic. And thankfully with Andrea's, direction, I was good at taking direction. I will say that. I was good at reading and good at taking direction. And when you're a kid, it's pretty much what you need to do in the industry to get things, because a lot of kids don't do either of those things. So, there wasn't too much preparing. I mean, the lines were all set, and none of it was improv, aside from, some, like, reaction noises and stuff. But people ask, like, "Oh, were any of those lines, like, made up on the spot?" No, everything was pre-planned. I mean, that's not a surprise. Mike and Brian very much were like, 3 seasons, here you go.
Right.
So same thing with their character arcs and their lines. Everything was like, this is what the story is. So all we had to do was come in and color it. So they made our jobs very, very easy. If anything, what I did to prepare is I would just sniff when I walked into the studio and see if they had made fresh popcorn in the kitchen, which was about 50-50 chance. And so if there was fresh popcorn, I immediately went and got a bag and brought it into the studio with me. That was how I prepared. Excuse me, as I hack up over your microphone.
If there's no popcorn, extra sassy. That's what you get.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Extra sassy if there's no popcorn.
Now,
So-
I was going to say, that's not the only character you played, right?
No,
Yeah.
so I started with Mang, another girl with 2 pigtails off the side of her head. There's
You're
a
getting
running
typecasted.
theme.
Yeah,
There's
we're
a
talking
running
more
theme.
sass with this character, though.
Yeah, she. I apparently both characters have issues with Katara, so clearly
Yeah.
I had to fill fill the quota of girls who felt Katara was a competition. But yeah, Mang in season 1 was what I was cast for initially, and during that time, Mike and Brian were talking about making Toph a girl. They were like, you know what? I feel like this would be a stronger choice. And apparently, according to Giancarlo, he's one of the directors as well. When I came in to record, they were like, wait a second. I think that's kind of, that would make sense for our Toph. She might be our Toph. And so they kind of called me back in to audition. I had no idea it was for the same show, but they had me audition for Toph. And indeed, I was what they were looking for. So because of Mang, I got Toph, actually, because I apparently was like the final little nail in the coffin of like, we're going to make Toph a girl, and not like a young kind of Bolin type from Korra, because that's originally what he was supposed to be. She was supposed to be. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. They kind of altered the character, and they chose you to be that new voice or the new version of the character.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because they had an idea for what they were going to do, but then they heard your voice and were like, yeah, no, that's tough.
Yeah.
We need that.
Like, I didn't know that until like a couple months ago, actually. Giancarlo told me, he's like, no, they heard you, and they were like, oh, that's Toph. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah. I was like, that's so cool. So yeah, I didn't know that until a few months ago.
So you were more influential on the show than you knew.
Apparently.
Yeah, right?
Apparently.
So I'm curious. I've noticed in a lot of places online, you're known as the Melon Lord.
Yeah.
we need to know the story about this.
Have you seen the show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's our.
But I mean, like more about like you just being the Melon Lord and everything like that.
Perhaps I'm not plugged in. Is it just like me personally known as? Because
it's just our way of trying to get you to say it.
Oh, I was about to say you should just ask me.
I was waiting for you to go. I am the Melon Lord.
Yeah, no, it's very popular. I actually, before I say it, I promise I will. But in 2014, no, before that. I think it was actually in like 2009 or something. I went to this anime convention in Canada before conventions were like really a thing. It was very tiny. In anime, it was called Anime North. And I remember somebody asked me to say the line, and I was like, oh, what? And somebody recorded it. It's on YouTube. It's like 14-year-old me with a little black fedora on saying this line in Canada. It's hilarious. Anyway, but I am not Toph. I am Melon Lord.
So good. I love it.
I love it.
Still got it.
I need to get a Melon Lord print, but that scene is so brown that when I print it out, it looks weird. So I'm trying to get some Melon Lord fan art on my table because it's necessary.
So if any of you know any artists out there,
there's plenty here.
I'm pretty sure there are a lot here.
A lot.
To do a print. Now tell us more about Bandit Basics.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Aside from Toph is super dope, right? Like, what inspired you to create your own line of like Toph-based?
It was really Dante. So Dante, who voices Zuko, once again.
Shout out to Dante.
Shout out to Dante. We love Dante.
Filipino.
Pinoy.
He actually his new movie is going to be streaming on Hulu. Fabulous Filipino Brothers. It's amazing.
Nice.
They picked it up. So he was selling a couple of like Rufio things because he was Rufio and Hook, as we know. Most of us know probably. And he had a couple of Zuko things like Honor, like on a T-shirt, and he had like some cool fan art on a hoodie and whatever. And I was like, all right, well, we need the Earth Kingdom version of that, right? So I started to kind of go through his manufacturer because he's like partnering with somebody who deals with like the distribution and whatever. And they didn't respond to me for like 3 months. And then when they did, it like wasn't very clear. I don't know. I'm just like Toph. I don't like things to be messy. So I'm like, listen, you're not going to do this, right? So I'm going to do it myself. Very on par. So I did. So I figured out how to like make an LLC. I made a Shopify. I found some distributors, found some good clothing wholesalers, got like my wholesale, like whatever license kind of registration thing. Anyway, all the business stuff aside. And then I was like, cool. Well, I want to make something that Toph would wear, not necessarily something that is like a fan-based apparel, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because Box Lunch has that pretty much taken care of. If you want something with a Badgermole and Toph on it together, you can probably get it there. But I was like, what would Toph wear day to day? Like, what would her loungewear be? What would be, her kind of thing? So that was the inspiration. And it would obviously be probably, unisex, a little oversized, very comfortable.
Definitely
That's
oversized.
and earth tones, obviously. So yeah, that's kind of where I got the inspiration, and so
That's such a good idea. It's kind of like her universe.
Exactly.
I like
in my
that.
perspective, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean Bandit Basics because Blind Bandit. So
Yeah.
Right.
there you go.
And I figured that's where you got the bandit from too. So.
Correct.
Hey, before it gets too late, if you guys have questions for Jessie, please get them ready. Throw a hand up if you have questions, and then.
And if you think of them later, you can just come ask
Come
me
by the
because I'm
booth, yeah.
right
And-
there.
Yeah, that's true. You'll be signing all day.
I will. I'm not going anywhere else.
All day.
I'll be right
midnight.
here.
She'll be here.
Midnight.
Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm missing my flight.
The rest of us won't be here, but.
Yeah.
So going back to learning about kind of like the mind of Jessie
Okay.
kind of stuff, right? What would be the worst movie sequel ever made?
Murphy. English. Movie sequel?
Movie sequel.
Well, I think we already know the answer to that partially. No, I'm just kidding. The live action series should make up for it. I'm excited. The casting choices have been really great so far. Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm also really bad because since I've done so much, I didn't see a lot of TV and film because I had a mom that was pretty strict growing up, and we didn't really have any cable or have too many VHSs, TBT to those, and in college I was swamped with work, so I literally haven't seen
A lot
a
of
lot, which is bad.
It's so interesting. We were just talking to. We interviewed Mary Gibbs, who played Boo from Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
And she said kind of was the same thing. She's
Yeah.
like, she's so ingrained in pop culture, it just kind of flies by her, and she doesn't even like. What was she saying? Like Star Wars. She's like, oh, I haven't even seen Star
Like
Wars.
she's just now starting to watch movies.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was a film major. I ended up majoring in screenwriting, but it was like classic. So I watched like, oh gosh, and now they all run out of my head. See, this happens when you get older. Sure, that was one of them. I think.
It's like this happens when you get older, and then you look at us, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, no, because I mean, people are like, "Oh, you're young, you're fine," and I'm like, "Yo, the memory's already gone. I don't know what you're talking about. There's too much going on up here." The one with Rosebud, the sled.
Citizen Kane.
Thank you. Yeah, so like Citizen Kane type of like classic. So like I've watched those because of my major, but I haven't watched. I feel like recent, relevant
Right.
things that people might. Because even Star Wars, it took me a second. I think I've seen them all, but I don't remember when. I mean, I've obviously seen the fourth one, but I haven't. Yeah, it's
Right.
bad. That's bad. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer to your question other than the movie that shall not be named. The sequel to that would probably be pretty bad.
yeah, no. Because I was wondering, like, in that, I was like, did they ever make this? Like, was Toph in that first
I was
movie?
so mad. No, I was so
Yeah, I
mad
thought she
when I
wasn't.
initially found out, and I was like, "Oh wait, it's season 1 though, so she'll be in the second movie." And then I was like, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah. No, yeah.
Never mind.
I was just like, who are they going to cast as Toph? This
Well,
seems
initially
terrible.
they had Jack as Sokka. They cast Jack DeSena as
Really?
the live action Sokka. He was in training, martial arts training. He was like ready to film. And then they switched over producers, they changed directors, and they changed the whole cast and everything. Well,
Became what it became.
Everything, yeah, we know what happened.
the weirdness that is the Last Airbender movie.
Yeah,
All right.
yes.
we're going to go away from that. Who would you most like to sit next to on a 10-hour flight, and why? Now, dead or alive, past, present, anyone, right? If you could sit on a plane with anyone that ever existed for 10 hours, meaning good conversation for 10
Yeah.
hours, who would it be?
I know that you said, well, okay, but there's like 5. How do I pick? I think probably I'm torn. Either like Julie Andrews if I'm feeling like, I don't know, a little classier that day, and if I'm feeling a little less classy, Doja Cat.
Yes.
It's very,
I mean, we'd
both.
make a lot of TikToks, and
Very
I feel like
different
it'd
sides
be
of the
really
spectrum.
weird, and it'd be so much fun.
Or maybe that's the best 10-hour flight. Like Doja Cat on one side, Julie Andrews on the other side.
There you go.
There it is.
There you go.
Middle seat.
yeah, you're just picking Julie Andrews' brain, and then, hey, Doja, let's make some TikToks.
A
Let's
close
go.
second would be Lady Gaga, because I feel like she figured out the weird, like, it's very hard to change from like, this is who I am and I'm unique, but also stay commercial. That's like such a hard thing that, and I mean, Madonna kind of tried to, but Madonna used more sex appeal in like a commercial, stereotypical sense, which is fine. But I feel like Lady Gaga did a little, but she really tried to keep it weird in her own way.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Now
I
she's
respect
using
that.
$1 million jets.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like still wearing meat suits to the Met,
Correct.
you know, like.
Correct.
What are you currently nerding out on?
What am I currently nerding out on? Sleep.
Sleep.
I'm
Yes.
nerding out on sleep. I feel like I haven't slept my whole life, and now I get to. I'm nerding out on sleep. I'm also nerding out on my dog. I've never had a dog before, and
kind of
it's
dog?
my first puppy. He's a Chihuahua wiener dog. His name is Maddox. He's 1.5 years old, and I'm obsessed. Like, stupidly obsessed. I didn't understand. Now I get it. I was like, I'm sure when I get a dog one day I'll understand, like, why these people are so nuts about their animals. But now I get it. Yeah, I'm geeking out on normal things because I was very intense. I grew up, I'm an only child of a single mother, and we, like, moved from the Midwest. Very much had not a lot. A lot of my acting work growing up paid for rent and, like, food and stuff. And so I've been hustling since I was 5. So she would be gone at work. Starting when I was 5, I would cook and clean and take care of myself while she was gone at work all day.
Good for you.
So yeah, it's funny because I feel like the last couple years I'm like sleeping and like enjoying brunch and like enjoying my dog. Like I'm like kind of being 7 for a second again, like a normal 7-year-old. So yeah, I'm geeking out on like normal
Sweatpants
life.
are a lifestyle. That's great.
Yeah,
That's good.
Exactly.
it feels really nice.
Who's got questions?
We got any questions in the audience here?
And if not, that's fine.
There we go. We got one right over there. What you got?
How did I get my dog? Fun story. So my boyfriend has a friend from theater in New York. He moved to Texas. He did not neuter his dog. His dog found a terrier friend, and the terrier friend all of a sudden had 6 puppies. And he's like, I have 6 puppies. I can't have 6 puppies. I need somebody to come take these. And there were 2 left, and they were just texting like, haha, fun, cute, like, oh, these 2 are left, whatever, they're so cute, blah, blah, blah. And we looked at this video, and he's black and white, and he was like just this little nugget. He's like this big. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a cute puppy. And then he took them on a walk. This is what sold me. He took them on a walk around the block, and he put each of them into his sweatpants pockets, and they just hung there as they went on a walk around the block. And I was like, oh, that's a good, cute puppy. I was like, he's a really good puppy. And so I was like, And he was like, we should get it. He's, much more... here, let's just do this and spend
Impulsive?
the money and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not the best sometimes. There's a lot of question marks right now. But anyway, but yeah, I was like, you know what? Because I was 26 at the time. I was like, I'm 26. I can, viably take care of this financially, mentally. I have some time. I should be able to actually take care of this creature. So we drove to Texas in one day.
Wow.
Straight through. I brought my mom and my boyfriend and me. Straight through, picked up the puppy, turned around and came back because we had work one day later, and then we had Maddox. And we chose him because the name Maddox. There's a comedian named Caitlin Riley. She's very funny. She's on TikTok and Instagram, and she has a bit where she's a high maintenance LA mom. She's like, I have my organic wine business in the living room. I can't have Maddox making noise during business calls. And I was like, oh, well, now I'm the high maintenance mom, and this is my son Maddox. So that's where the name came from.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And fun fact, if you ever are trying to decide on temperament, my grandmother always says, if you pick a puppy up and lay them on their back and they don't squirm like crazy to get out, they might be a little like, what the heck's going on? But if they eventually kind of just chill on their backs, you got a good temperament pup. So we did the test, and it was true. So there you go.
Nice.
Fun facts for my grandmother.
I'm going to learn from your grandmother now.
There you go.
We got any other questions?
Yeah. Oh, my favorite Avatar episode. I'm really torn between Tales of Ba Sing Se, because amazing, but also The Library. Those are both episodes where we see Toph like not at her strongest, and I just appreciate those moments because we don't see them that often. Usually we see her being sassy and screaming at people and like being the greatest earthbender in the world, which is amazing. But then you also like to see those moments where she's like, I do kind of care what people see, but I don't care what they think, but like, am I attractive? What does that even mean? Like, just dealing with those like kind of stereotypically girly moments where she's like, yeah, I want to be cute. I don't know what the heck that means, but I you know, yeah, that'd be nice. And then in the library, she like can't save everybody. She can't save Appa and them. I think she made the right choice. Aang might beg to differ, but yeah, you know, I just like those two because I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know, Toph backstory and kind of moments in them that I like. Yeah.
Nice. Got any other audience questions out here? Ooh, we got two of them here.
White hat.
White hat.
Least favorite Korra. Okay, well, first of all, I watched Korra as a totally separate entity because I figured that was the smartest thing to do. So I just pretended it wasn't related as much as I could. I honestly, this might be shady, but I had a hard time watching after season 3. So I don't know if it's really a specific episode, but somewhere at the end of season 3, I had a hard time like being interested in what was happening next. And I don't know why, but for some reason I just felt like season 4 was all a blur and that there wasn't too much, I guess, of a distinction. So that's not super helpful because I actually really liked... that's the opposite of your question. I really like the spirit world stuff. I love all of the backstory when we get the history of the spirit world, like origin and like all of those stories were my favorite. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, season 4.
Because we do get like, you know, extra uber badass Toph in Korra. So I mean, like, you know.
And she runs off to a mountain and then, you know, is like living in a dirt hovel. So maybe that's next for me.
She like creates metal bending. She's a badass.
Yeah. Well, she kind of policifies it literally.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, near the end of the Last Airbender, there's an episode where they're like fired nation where they did a kind of recap episode.
Uh-huh.
With, like, you know, fired people like playing them like a play.
Ember Island players, yes.
Yeah, and Toph was really happy that they found a big buff.
Heck yeah.
What's it like? Do you agree with that?
Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. Nothing gives her more joy, I think, than people portraying her or describing her as just super strong, burly, intimidating, whatever. And the fact that they chose, I mean, that whole episode is hilarious. It's a close third to the other two. But, you know, everybody else's characters, of course, they're going to gripe about them because they just aren't, I don't know. I feel like she's pretty honest with herself about who she is. She's like, yeah, I'm pretty opinionated and I'm blunt and I don't like you and I'm okay with that and you can hate me for it and whatever. And so I just think it's funny when Katara's like, how do you think, what do you think of that? And she was like, I think it's perfect. And everybody else is like upset with their characters. It's so funny. Yes, he did. But the fact that Aang was like a girl and he was like so put off by that. He's like, what the heck is going on? So funny. Yeah, no, I think that was very, very on point. That she'd be happy with that decision.
I think we have a question right over here.
That is a good question.
That's a really good question.
How did I
had that
get
on here,
what is Jessie Flower? Where did it come from? Because you see Jessie Flower, but my name is also Michaela Jill Murphy. So how old are you? 8? Okay. So when I was 6, so a couple years before you, when I first started acting, you have to put your name on your headshots, and people mispronounced mine all the time. So at the time, I had a different last name because it was from my mom's old marriage. So my name was Michaela Mayhair, and that was spelled Meagher. So I got a lot of Michela Meagers, a lot of Michael A. Meagers, and I was over it. And I was like, it just isn't cute. It's really long. There's so many letters. This isn't trendy. So I was like, you know what is a cool name? Jessica. Even cooler, Jessie. So 6-year-old me made a name for myself, which is pretty common in acting anyway. Lots of people have stage names. Mm-hmm. But my mom was like, you need a last name. And I was like, well, I can't be Jessie Mayhair. That's not Jessie. Yeah, okay. And I just picked Flower. And she's like, okay, this is going to be like printed on lots of things. And I was like, yeah, whatever, Jessie Flower. And I can like draw a flower above the eye. I'll make it cute. And she's like, okay. And little did I know, it would be in lots of things. So I still sign as Jessie because everything up until Avatar has Jessie Flower in the credits. So I figure I should still sign as what is in the credits. And then everything from that point till now, I sign as Michaela. So the recent anime, when people come and get a print for that, if for these video games that I may or may not be in, that coming up, if people want me to sign for those, I'll sign as Michaela. So yeah, Jessie Flower is a name that I gave myself because I didn't like my birth name, but now I do again. Because I turned 18 and Jessie Flower all of a sudden felt a little different in certain settings.
Like because you're an adult now. So
yeah,
it's like
I'm like, But yeah, I went back to my birth name of Murphy, so Michaela Jill Murphy. I should be a country singer now, apparently. With that,
That would work.
Listen, I love singing country music, so you know what? Maybe.
And there you go. You put out a country album.
There you go. Toph Beifong, country hits.
Perfect album. Greatest hit.
Songs of the Earth Kingdom.
Oh my gosh.
That would be amazing right there, right? Before we get to the wrap-up questions, do we have any last audience questions here? Go ahead.
Is there any character that you think Toph didn't get enough screen time with?
Ugh, all of them. I mean, well, she never got to go on her, great adventure with Zuko. We know this, right? Life-changing adventure. So sad. But in real life, we did, because I got to meet up with him on his book tour in New York, and we did like a surprise signing together. So that was our real-life adventure. But I feel like she never got her moment of having a crush on somebody fully, which is not the end of the world, but it would have been fun to see, even if, like, it would have been 2 seconds with, like, Jet or something. I don't know. I know that's different worlds and seasons and whatever, but it would have been fun to see that develop a little more, or to see her try to flirt more, like she kind of does with Sokka, but not really. Like, I would have loved to see her, like, try to flirt with somebody.
Her awkward
actively.
flirting was always good, though.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but I would have loved to see more of that, for sure.
You were really good at awkward flirting.
Yeah,
It
well,
was, 'cause she's like super, like she's trying to flirt, but she's just awkward as hell. So it's
Yeah.
just like,
Compliment.
yeah, it's not similar to life at all.
so I've got 3 questions for you to wrap up here.
We're at
Okay.
time.
Because we're at time, so I want to make sure I ask these questions. Number 1, What is your favorite kind of taco?
Ooh, pescado if the fresh is fish.
Yes.
I'll just go now. Pescado if the fish is fresh. If it's not fresh, then just veggie.
Okay.
Solid.
Toph gets into a fight with a badger mole, or Toph and a badger mole get in a fight with Timmy and Lassie.
Oh, okay.
Who wins in the fight?
Me. Sorry, I mean, that was...
It's an obvious
John
one.
Provost right now.
There.
I feel like
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we bring out John Provost, Lassie himself.
I feel like the only one who could give me a run for my money is maybe Boomy, but Boomy's a little crazy, and so he has to have all his marbles in one place, or else I think I would still win. That's my.
King Boomy was a badass, though.
Yeah, no, he is.
He's like this old frail man, takes off his cloak, and he's like the buffest dude in
Surprise!
existence. All right, so last thing on here, can you impart any wisdom from the badger moles for us?
From the badger moles, I want a badger mole. I want a turtle duck, and I want a badger mole. Slow down. There's no need to rush. I think that is probably the most helpful thing for Toph and myself and many of us in this world. You slow down. Take your time. Take your time doing whatever it is you're doing. You'll get there when you're supposed to get there and when the time is right. Yeah, that's probably what the biggest thing is that Toph had to learn from the badger moles.
Awesome. So how about some pluggables? Where can everybody find you here?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, as I headbutt the microphone. Yeah. So
You're a professional.
I am sometimes. Sometimes. I am on Instagram, my birth name, at Michaela Mostly. I did that because it's mostly me on the page. Ha, ha, ha. Clever. So yeah, at Michaela Mostly, Michaela, Mostly, Mostly. I am on TikTok at Michaela Jill Murphy, trying to be better. I'm like just on the cusp. I'm very zillennial-y. Like I don't feel like I'm in either camp, so it's a very weird place to be. So I'm not super amazing at TikTok, but I do like it and think it's fun. And if you're interested in the Bandit Basics stuff, we have an Instagram, we have a website at Bandit Basics, or www.banditbasics.com. Or you can come find me at the table and say hi. And
Awesome. Well, guys, let's get a round of applause for Jessie Flowers, a.k.a. Michaela Murphy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.